Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. This is Naveen Gorky Kamaraj with you today. And in today's webinar, we are going to see about average directional index, ADX, and the different strategies which we can use for trade using ADX and how it can help us during real-time trading. Let's get started. Okay, so we are sharing our experiences based on like the last couple of years, how we have been trading, myself and my father, Mr. Arunachalam Kamaraj. So this video is sharing our experience and it's for your educational purposes. I hope you watch this video and understand as much as possible and try these out by yourself by backtesting and by studying the different parameters. All right, so what is ADX or average directional index? So we have been seeing different charts and different screens for during the trading hours. So this is the screen where we have ADX. So this is our normal candlestick chart, and this part we call as the ADX. So let's get to know more about this. All right. So ADX, like all the technical indicators we have been talking about, ADX is a technical indicator which was developed and framed by Mr. Wilder in 1978. So this is actually used to determine the strength of a trend. So it is irrespective of the upward or downward direction. It just tells that the trend is strong or weak. So we know the strength of trend. So ADX is used to determine the strength of the trend, either upward or downward. So in order to know which trend it is, upward or downward, there are two accompanying indicators, which is called as DMI, directional moment indicators. So we have one as the plus DI and the other one as the minus DI, which is the negative directional indicator and the positive directional indicators. See, the plus DI and minus DI, these two things or these two indicators are basically smoothed out averages of the difference between the consecutive two lows and the respective consecutive highs, the consecutive two lows and the consecutive two highs. So it is the difference between the lows and highs for the consecutive candlesticks. So these help to measure the trend, which is, as per the time period, we know which is the direction of the trend. So this is how we have the plus DI and the minus DI, which is the directional moment indicators. Okay, now we are talking about ADX. So ADX is actually, it is derived from the smooth average of the difference between the plus DI and the minus DI. So plus DI and minus DI, these are calculated from the consecutive lows and consecutive highs. ADX is again a smooth average of this plus DI and minus DI, the difference between them. So it gives us the strength of the trend without the direction over the given time period. So this is called as ADX, and it is accompanied by two more indicators, which is called as plus DI and minus DI. Okay. Now I'm just showing you a screen of ADX added in Alice Blue chart. If you see here, this is the State Bank of India equity cash script, and I'm showing you a 5 minutes chart. So here we have ADX added below. It's not overlay, it's below the candlestick chart. Here, if you see that there are three lines. One is the black line, which is the ADX line, which tells us the strength. And then we have the red line, which is the minus directional indicator. And then we have the plus DI. So we have minus DI in red, plus DI in green, and then the ADX in black. So ADX tells us basically the strength of the particular trend. Okay, so this is the basis of ADX, wherein you have three lines: the black line, the red line, and the green line. Okay. Now, see, these three indicators, which I showed you with the black line and the red line and the green line. These three can be used by traders to detect the direction of the trend and the strength of the trend. So we have many cases wherein we are in a range market and wherein we are in a trend market. So in order to identify what is the current trend and how is the strength of the trend, ADX and plus DI and minus DI, these combinations can be used. Okay, so ADX basically tells us the strength of the trend. It doesn't tell the direction, but it tells the strength of the trend. Whether it is a strong trend or it's a weak trend, we know that. In order to know what kind of trend it is, whether it is a bullish trend or it's a bearish trend, we get to know by the plus DI and the minus DI indicators. When the plus DI is more or higher than the minus DI, it means it is a bullish trend. When the minus DI is more than the plus DI, it means the bearish trend is higher. In simple words, if the red line is on top of the green line, it means it's a bearish trend. If the green line is on top of the red line, it means it's a bullish trend. So together, these three, the ADX line, the plus DI and the minus DI, these three can tell us whether what is the trend, whether we should go for a long or short, we should go for a buy or sell, or if the trend is weak, I don't think we should trade. So these decisions can be taken based on the ADX. So ADX is a momentum indicator and it tells us whether it's the right time to trade or not. Okay, I think you're clear about this. So ADX has three components basically. One is the ADX line, which tells us the strength. And secondly, we have the plus DI and the minus DI, which tells us which direction it is moving in, whether it is bullish or bearish. Okay, fine. Now, see, there are certain basic rules which we can use and follow. For example, we have here, as per Wilder, he suggests that if the ADX line, the black line, if it is more than 25, it means there is a strong trend. Okay, and if the ADX line is below 20, it means there is no solid trend. Better to stay away from the market. And also, there is a gray range between 20 and 25, as per Wilder. This 20 and 25 is risky because it can go in either directions, up or down. So it's more kind of risky. And actually, this 20, 25, these are all like, it is based on the volatility of the share, particular stock or share or commodity. See, if it is less volatile, you will have to adjust the sensitivity by, like we have been discussing all these time. We have different look back periods which can be adjusted. The smaller the look back period, the higher the sensitivity will be, and you'll get more signals. According to the volatility of the market and the particular stock, you can adjust things. Okay, but this is just a basic. This is the most widely used setup by default, which is the ADX is above 25, which means the trend is strong, and there is no trend at all if it is below 20. Between 20 to 25, it's a high risk zone, which can be traded and which cannot be traded as well. It depends on the stock and the market and the trend. And also, see, there are some analysts who consider 20 instead of 25 as well. So they use a different strategy wherein, according to these people, because of depending on the volatility. So for these people, the ADX line is 20. It's not 25. When it crosses 20, they consider it as strong. So again, this can be configured based on the stock and based on the volatility of the day. Okay, I think this is the basic of ADX. So let's get into some real-time trading strategies, which can help you. Okay, so let's go into the first strategy. Okay, fine. Now, see, this strategy is straight away, and it's very simple. See, the ADX line, and we draw at 25, the line 25, which is the benchmark or the threshold level. So we draw a 25 line, and then when ADX crosses 25 upwards and DI is greater than, plus DI is greater than the minus DI, it means there is a bullish trend, there's a strong bullish trend. And again, when ADX crosses 25 upwards and minus DI, that is a negative DI, is greater than the positive DI, which means there is a strong bearish trend. When ADX crosses downward, there is no trend. Okay, so this particular strategy helps us to identify that there is a strong bullish or bearish trend. And the best way to use ADX is, like we have been seeing about in the previous couple of videos of this technical analysis series, we have been seeing about moving averages, MACD, and RSI. So these are all the different indicators and combinations. And also we have seen about the candlestick patterns and all those stuff that helps us to identify what's going on exactly and predict. In this case, ADX is helpful to give us the trend line. It tells us in which direction it is and when it is strong enough. So such a scenario can be used to make an entry when it is combined with other indicators we have been discussing so far. I'll show you some looks of how it is. For example, see here I have drawn a blue line. Can you see the blue line here? There is a blue line in the middle, which is 25. Then we have the ADX lines, the black one, and then we have the plus and minus DI lines. If you see here, see right from here, whenever the ADX crosses 25 line upwards, I have marked a zone. You see here? See, I'm sorry. As long as the zone is, the ADX is above the 25 line, it's an area that can be traded. Similarly, here there is one entry possible. 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 And here there is one entry possible. See, all these zones are above 25, where ADX is above 25. So right now, we know that these within this place, within this range, we can trade. Within this range, yes, we can trade. See, we know that the trend is, here the trend is, at the time of entry, the trend is bullish. Here also the trend is bullish. So what we have to do here is, see, you have to combine different indicators over here. Straight away, you cannot enter here because it just tells that, okay, fine, this is bullish, it is bearish. So the exact place to enter cannot be pointed out by this method. But still, we get to know if the market is sideways or if the market is trending. So this is very important because by using ADX, we can get to know if the market is sideways. See, for example, here we have sideways. So these are difficult markets to trade. See, the ADX is very less. It has gone down to 11. But here, if you see this, once the ADX value crosses 25, you see there is a huge movement. Even more than 20. See, this place there is a high movement. If you see here, it's around 19. More than 20 is also can be considered, but still, to be on the safer side, 25 is the place where we can enter more confidently. If ADX is more than 25, the strength, whatever is the strength, it is strong. See, for example, here you see that plus DI it's greater than minus DI, which means here the strength is strong for in a bullish market. Here, if you see here, we get to know that the bearish market is taking over because the red, which is the minus DI, is above the plus DI. The red is above the green, and the trend is more than 25, which means there is a strong downward trend. And you can see that's what's happened here. Okay, that's the way to understand and interpret all these zones. See, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different zones. And each of these zones, there is high movement because the ADX is more than 25. So this is understanding number one. Second, which direction the market is trending. This can be seen by the plus DI and minus DI, whichever is higher. Accordingly, we know which direction it is trending. So to find the correct entry point, we have seen other different indicators like RSI and MACD, moving averages, and based on these, and also the candlestick patterns, you can know for sure that yes, fine, I can take the entry here. So these are the supporting ways, indicators, which can be useful to help you to understand when to get into the market. Okay, so this is one trend, one strategy. I'll show you the next strategy, which is very interesting. And the second strategy can be executed straight away. We don't need to wait for any other indicators. This strategy can be executed straight away. Okay, what is this strategy? Well, the strategy is very simple. There is a crossover of plus DI and minus DI. See, what it means, plus DI and minus DI. There is a crossover. It goes from up to down. One of them goes up to down. The other one goes from down to up. What it means? Yes, there is definitely a change in the trend. And also, if the ADX is more than 25, which means, yes, the trend has changed from downwards to upwards or upwards to downwards. And then we get to know that the strength signal is also, the strength of the trend is also strong enough. So what we can do in this case is, let me explain. When the plus DI crosses minus DI, that is the red line, is crossed by the green line upward, and the ADX is more than 25, it is a buy signal here. Okay, and the previous strategy, we understood the trend only. Here, that is a buy signal. And similarly, when the minus DI crosses the plus DI upwards, which means the red goes on top of the green, there is a crossover, and the ADX is more than 25, which means there is a sell signal. Okay, see, what we can do in this case is, we can wait for one more candle for confirmation. If it is a buy signal, wait for the next candle. Yes, if it is the same direction, we can execute. Or in simple words, you can go more than the closing high, the high of the last candle, you can go. If it is more than that, you can enter. This is one way. Wait for the confirmation and then you can trade. Then, similarly, if it is a sell signal, wait for the next candle and make sure that you trade after the low of the next candle. Like if it is a sell call, if it's a sell call, there is one, here you get the signal. Wait for the next candle, it should also be coming down. Then after that, you can enter. So this is the way of using the crossover of plus and minus, plus DI and minus DI, along with the ADX greater than 25 parameters. See, similarly, this can also be interpreted as exit point. For example, you have entered with some other strategy or even this strategy, and at one place your direction is changing. So this direction change is implied by this crossover mark here. In the opposite direction, it means definitely yes, there is a crossover change and it's better to exit. So this is the way. I'll show you now. You see this here. This is also State Bank the last couple of days. You see this here. First of all, there is a crossover. There is a crossover. The green, the red one is going above the green. Here there is a crossover, and then again there is a reversal, and then fine, again there is still a crossover there where the red goes above the green. So this crossover, and also the ADX, because this blue line is ADX number 25. So it is more than 25. So this crossover here, it means, see, this is the crossover. This crossover here, it means that yes, the trend is reversing to bearish. So what we should do here is, see, this candle's low. You should wait for the price to go below this candle's low, which is the next candle. We waited for the first candle. Okay, this is the candle where the price goes below the close. Now we have to enter here. I've just marked this sell here so that we can enter here. You can enter here. Immediately after this candle closes, you can enter here at this price. And definitely you would have got a minimum profit of this length or even the whole length if you're going to wait for the next day, but it's not intraday. Right? You got the point? So this is how a sell signal is generated when there is a crossover. Now, here, there is one more crossover wherein ADX is more than 25, and also we have a crossover here, wherein the green takes over. The green takes over and goes upward, which means there is a buy signal, buy signal. So what we do here is, see this candle, the price must go above this candle, above the high of this candle. It never went. So this trade will not happen because we wait for confirmation from the next candle to make sure that the price is above the last high, the last candle's high. So this ensures that we get a confirmation. In this case, yes, we got a confirmation, and then we entered. It went on fine. In this case, if you see here, the price never went beyond this high price. It never went beyond this high price, so we will not enter this trade. So this trade is invalid. And also you see here there are some crossovers, but we don't consider these because ADX is lesser than 25. Up to this, we will not consider any case. See, the market is sideways. See, here there is a trend, and here it is sideways. If you consider the number of minutes over here, it's quite long. So during this time, the ADX value was very less, and it's clearly implying that the market is kind of sideways or in a range. Okay, and you see here there is one scenario where here we have a crossover. There is a crossover from it's a bullish buy signal. So what happens is there is a crossover of green over red, and the ADX value is also high. So what we do is we wait for this. This is the first candle. So we'll wait for the second candle and we'll enter at the closing high price, at the high price of this. Definitely, if you're entering here, you will be getting a profit of all this stretch. Worst case, you can even close here, or you can wait for this stretch and you will get the profit here. You got it? So this is the second strategy wherein we are talking about the plus DI and minus DI crossover, which is also confirmed by the strength of this particular signal from the ADX value, which is greater than 25. Okay, so this is basically about ADX. So ADX is giving us a lot of guidelines on which direction the particular share is moving on, or particular stock is moving on, or the particular commodity is moving on, and also what is the strength of this particular stock. See, for example, blindly by seeing here, I know that there is it's a bearish trend. You see this, when the red is higher than the green, it clearly means that there is a bearish signal. Here, there was a slight bullish signal. Just by looking at this, even I don't need to look at this, but still, the strength of this particular trend matters. So we should not enter when the trend is very weak, because we don't know which side, or it will drop totally. Okay, you got the point? So the idea here is to understand the strength of the trend and also determine the direction of the trend based on the plus and minus DI. This is the way of using ADX. Okay. And about the settings over here, see, this is the default settings. I'll just show you here. It's a 14 period. It's a 14 period ADX over here. And there are a lot of ways. Even there's a histogram. So it's all simple. The way you interpret histogram and the lines are the same. The same lines, whichever is higher, it's drawn as a histogram. And even we have some shading, which looks interesting. We know that there is a zone here for, this is a zone for sell. From here to here, we know that there's a sell range. Here there's a small possible buying, and then here we have a full range bearish or sell. And also the trend is strong here. So this is the way to understand and utilize ADX, which gives us the strength of the trend and also which direction the trend is moving on. Okay, fine. Now let me get on to the final summary part of it. All right. See, ADX is basically a momentum indicator. Okay, it's a group of 3 different parts, which is like the ADX line itself, and then the plus and minus DI. So, in simple words, when the price is moving up, it is because the plus DI is above the minus DI. Similarly, when the minus DI is above the plus DI, which means the price is moving down. And whenever there are crossovers between the plus and minus DI, it means there are possible potential trading entry signals. The trend has strength when the ADX is above 25, and the trend is weak or the price is trendless when the ADX is below 20. And if there is no trend, it doesn't mean that the price is not moving at all. It means that there is a possible trend change, or it is too volatile to make a clear decision about the direction of movement currently. That's the reason why ADX is below 20. And then, like I told you, we have trend market and we have the range market. So the ADX value, when it is too low, we understand that there is not any particular, there is no strong strength of any particular trend. And that's the reason market is in the sideways. This is one way to identify if the market is in a sideways range. And so I've shown you two different strategies. One is just to identify the trend. And the other one is whenever there is a crossover, we can take the entry or exit with confirmation from the next candle or the candlestick patterns, which will give us direct entry over there. Now, see, the sensitivity can be adjusted based on the market volatility and the particular stock's volatility. See, if you have a shorter time frame, look back period is say like 5 or 10, you get a lot of signals, and some of them are potentially risky, maybe fake signals, you can say. So that's the reason we say combine a couple of them together and take one from here, one from there, one from whatever, mix, and whatever gives you the best, you can use that. But ADX is used basically to tell us if there is a strong trend or if the market is sideways. So accordingly, we can take the decision. So only using ADX, we can of course trade with whenever there is a crossover. That's also a possible way. But ADX basically guides us how we can understand the strength of the market and which trend direction it's moving on. Okay, I think that's it for understanding about ADX. So I've been showing you ADX and how to set up and how to add all these things on Alice Blue's platform. And any questions you can please post on the Q&A session. I will get back to you. And in the coming weeks, we'll be having a lot of upcoming webinars and also videos directly on YouTube, which will be like a number of, particularly on commodities trading. We'll be having a lot of different series coming up, which will guide us in a different way. It's a totally different direction to understand how this stuff works. And also we'll be having about Fibonacci series, which is very crucial. And also this average two-ray, super trend, and all this stuff. And finally, I would like to say there is something very important to be a successful trader, which is like understanding the psychology of trading, why the price goes up, why the price goes down, why sometimes the price goes and before the target within 1.2 point it reverses. So there are cases where we face this many times. So in order to understand these things, there is a psychology and a reason behind this. If we get to know these in a better way, we can handle things much easier. Okay, now please, if you have any questions, you are free. You can please post them on the Q&A session. I'll get back to you. Anything else? Yeah, the ADX settings I showed you is 14. You can even try with 50 or even 10 or 5. Like I told you, the sensitivity. So for a shorter look back period, the sensitivity will be very high. You'll be getting a lot of signals and calls. But you should understand that there are potential risk factors. Okay. And yes, Can I use only the black ADX line, single line? Yes, you can use only the black ADX line, which tells you that the strength is strong. The strength of the trend is strong enough. This is what the black line, which means if it is more than 25, it means whatever is the trend, it is strong. Yes. Can I use RSI and ADX together? Yes, you can use. You can use RSI and ADX together. You can use MACD and ADX together. You can use even moving averages with ADX. You can mix all these together. They are all supporting each other. But one thing, see, now I showed you two different scenarios. One was the crossover of plus DI and minus DI, and the other one was crossover of 25 line by the ADX line. See, whatever strategy you are using and entering the trade, follow the same strategy till you exit. Do not start with one trade and later halfway you decide and change it to something else. That will not work. Whatever strategy you started, stick to that and proceed further. Can I use ADX for commodities, bank nifty? Yes. See, ADX was basically invented for the purpose of commodities. The reason was high volatility. That was the intention. So any particular stock that has a high volatility, ADX will be absolutely helpful and supported. You can use ADX and trade. Okay, next question. In which time chart ADX can be used effectively? 5 minutes chart or 10 minutes chart? Well, we have been talking about this a lot of times. See, ADX can be used even for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes candle. It's okay. It's whatever timeline you are selecting, you can stick to that. If there is, see, if you see in a 5 minutes signal, in a 5 minutes candle chart, you may have a buy signal, but on the wider picture, if you have a 15 minutes candle or a 30 minutes candle, you will understand that that can be an opposite signal over there, because the shorter time frame, it doesn't prolong. It just happens for a small period and then exits. So what is the benefit of shorter period? Your risk level is very less. You are not going to make a huge loss or a huge profit. You cannot make out of this because your time range is very narrow. So the movement is also limited. Okay, so you understood. 5 minutes, your risk level is very less per trade. Whatever you may gain or lose, it can be very less most of the times. And 10 minutes chart, yes, there is a more opportunity for risk and also for profit. So 10 minutes is better in that case. If you are looking for higher values, you can use for 10 minutes. And you want me to show how to do this in the Alice Blue platform? I'll show you. Any more questions? Please add it. I'm just showing this. I'll be back. All right. So here I'm on State Bank of India. It's a plain 5 minutes chart. How to add ADX in Alice Blue. Fine. You go to the studies. You see here ADX and directional movement system. Yeah, the ADX by DMS. This is the one. Click on it. You will get ADX below the candlestick chart. Here, you can have some settings like what is the time period? Like I told you, you can have 5, 10, whatever you want. Like this is 10. You see? Then accordingly, you can have a shading, like what is the range zone. By seeing the shading, you understand, okay, it's simple. And also you can have a histogram. If you see the histogram, is nothing fishy. It's very simple. Whatever is on top, if it is bearish, you get the red histogram bars, and if it is bullish, you get the green histogram bars. That's it. It's just the way of how to see things, and you can have this different colors and signals. That's it for doing this on Alice Blue. You see this? I've just made it bigger enough to show you. All right, and I can also show you how to draw a line. So you go to the tools, Go to the tools. Here you can go and select a horizontal line and just drawing it. So for example, you want to draw a line here. Yes, that's a line. Suppose you want to draw one more line with a different color. Yes, that's a line. Suppose you want to have different look and feel. You can do all that. All right, these are all just you have your own parameters, and you get to know which visually will be helpful for you. Okay, ADX, is it applicable for Nifty option call? ADX, is it applicable for Nifty option call? Yes, of course. See, Nifty option call. See, any particular stock has momentum. There is a moment. There is a moment. Price moves. So that's the base. So ADX is also applicable for Nifty option calls. The reason is sometimes the market is stagnant. At that time, the ADX will be very less. So, and sometimes the market is even the particular stock. For example, last week, you know what happened? It was crazy. Last Thursday, we had 200. I think it was 200 PE. Yes, 200 PE was. It went from 6 rupees to 100 rupees. So there was a huge. There was a huge momentum at that time. See if I can show you. No, it's closed now, so I cannot. All right. So any more questions? Okay. Question is ADX more suitable in trending market? See, ADX is a supporting tool. It is not all. ADX is a supporting tool which tells how is the market trend, whether it is strong or weak. See, I'll show you some scenario. You see here. See, here we have a strong red, which is like it's a sell. But actually, what happens next is there is here also you see this. There is a buy signal here. Why? The reason is the ADX trend is weaker. Okay, so it just shows the strength of the particular trend. Okay, fine. Which time exit when up to 25 bullish trend? See, exit is based on your target or your stop loss or your risk management. Like we have been telling you, based on your risk, you fix your minimum stop loss and your goals for the day. So once you reach any of these, you better leave it, or you should have. I was showing you the different candlestick patterns that were guiding us and giving us what is the next possible direction of the trades. So you just go through those videos, so you'll understand when there is a reversal, you can exit from the trade. And also I've been sharing the PDF to you as well, so you can have a look on those candlestick patterns. So that will really help you for understanding when to exit. Even when in ADX, when there is a crossover, you can exit. All right. So any more questions, please post on WhatsApp. I'll get back to you. And thank you, guys. So today, I think we had a understanding of how the ADX is utilized. What is ADX? There are 3 lines, like one single line, and a second line, which is the plus DI, and then the minus DI, which is the third line. So with these 3 lines, there is a combination. Whatever the plus or minus, whatever is higher, it means that is a trend currently prevailing. And the ADX value itself, if it is more than more than 25, it means that whatever is the trend, it is strong enough. So this is the basic. With this, we can, along with the other indicators and oscillators and trends, we can have perfect entries and exits. Okay. So thanks a lot. There are some more questions. I'll reply to them when in WhatsApp to you, because we're running out of time today. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So thanks for being with us today, and it's very nice to see you all again after a week's time in today's technical analysis series. So the basic here is what myself and my father, Mr. Kamaraj, are giving you by this trainings and webinars and orientations is like we are giving you a summary of our experiences, our success and failures. We have combined them together to give something that is working in the long run. See, these are all our experiences, and we're giving you a condensed form to explain how these things work and in what way you can use them. See, now it is up to you. Like you can review these particular the videos what we are posting. You can review these videos again, note down the points, then you can backtest yourself. Go to Alice Blue or whatever platform you are using and backtest yourself by adjusting the various look back patterns, various time frames. So when you visualize these things, you will understand really a lot of things. So you'll understand what are the mistakes you've been doing in the past. So at times in the range market, we trade expecting the market to go up. Actually, it's the reverse. We couldn't understand at that time. But with ADX, you will have a better insight. It's giving us more information and guidelines. Okay, so that's the content of today, to share our experience on how to use the ADX indicator and some strategies to use ADX indicator. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today, and good night. Bye-bye.